The search for justice for Abby Williams and Libby German enters its next phase. Just a few hours ago, the prosecution rested its case against suspected killer Richard Allen. They believe they proved Allen is the bridge guy who killed the girls just before Valentine's Day in 2017. All of this comes exactly 2 years after Allen was handcuffed and sent to jail. And now Indiana's most high-profile murder trial has been turned over to the defense.
Yeah, they've already called their first witness to the stand after the state played phone calls between Allen and his wife earlier today. We turn now to Fox 59's Russ McQuaid and Max Lewis. And gentlemen, the defense started its case tonight with a woman who was there on the bridge the day Abby and Libby were murdered. What was that testimony all about?
Well, that started about 4 o'clock. There were a couple of women who testified. One who said she was up on the bridge between 3 and 4 p.m. on the day of February 13th, 2017, the day that Abby and Libby were killed. I think the defense was trying to prove she was up on the bridge. She saw and heard nothing unusual, which would have been approximately in the time frame when the murders may have been being committed. Down below, there was another woman who was brought up who said, earlier that day I saw a man who seemed sort of strange at the county road. That was accessing that end of the Monon High Bridge. When I looked back, he was gone. So the defense, Max, didn't really land any punches this afternoon. No. However, the prosecution wrapped up its case for these jurors by playing telephone calls that Richard Allen made to his wife and to his mother throughout the spring and summer of 2023.
Yeah, and a pretty big way to wrap up that case. They played these calls, and these are the sort of last set of confessions. We had heard the confessions to prison guards. We had heard the confessions to his psychologist, and then we heard these, but these were obviously the only ones that we have heard coming out from Richard Allen's mouth himself. Some of the things he said, most of the confessions during these times, they were played from a selected amount of days, mostly through April and May of 2023. He basically said things like, I did it, I killed Abby and Libby. They were very generic confessions. His wife would say, no, you didn't, don't say that, and he would, say, yes, I did. He would also just talk about thinking that he was losing his mind. That was a couple of times he said those in those calls as well.
What struck me about those confessions he gave to his wife, they were rather generic and plain spoken, as opposed to the more complicated, more detailed confessions he gave to the prison psychiatrist later that summer.
Yeah, the prison psychiatrist, Dr. Monica Walla, who had testified previously, he told her rather a step-by-step account of what happened, that he was at the bridge, he laid in wait, he followed them across. When he was getting ready to rape and kill the girls, then he got spooked by a van, and that played a really key part in the testimony today as well.
Well, what we're trying to understand is, how would he have known about that van in August of 23? Was it in his paperwork? Was it with discussions with his attorney? However, the trooper, Brian Harshman, said, I didn't even know about that van reference until August of 24. 1 year after he made those comments, because it wasn't until the summer of 24, just a couple months ago, that we as investigators even knew about the van. That's when they brought in Brad Weber, the man who owns the van. He goes, yeah, I was driving my van down that road that day.
Yeah, and around 2:30 that afternoon, which lines up with the timeline. Of course, the defense pushes back on the van thing, basically saying there are hundreds of references to the van in the discovery that Allen was provided before he made that detailed confession. But Brad Weber's going to play a huge part in this, and we know he's going to be back for the defense's case, because he says he would have arrived home around 2:30. But defense attorney Andrew Baldwin, when he was questioning him earlier this week, said, are you sure about that? And referenced a statement he made to law enforcement. That was before the prosecution objected, and Mr. Baldwin subpoenaed him to come back. That is likely when we might hear about where he actually was that day.
And Master Trooper Brian Harshman testified, I have listened literally to hundreds of hours of phone calls between Richard Allen and his wife. I know his voice. In my opinion, the voice of Bridge Guy on the bridge that day on Libby German's phone, guys, down the hill. He said that is Richard Allen's voice. The defense continues with its case tomorrow and through the most of the part of next week. We'll be here every step of the way. In Delphi with Max Lewis, I'm Russ McQuaid, Fox 59 News.
All right, thank you both. A lot has happened certainly in this trial already, and for a full recap of what's happened inside the courtroom each day, you can go to our website at fox59.com/Delphi.